What's up, everybody? It's me. I'm back with another review, and today I'm talking about the Netflix documentary Kylie. And it's not about Kylie Jenner, it's about the Princess of Pop and Australia's fairy daughter, Kylie Minogue. And I've got to say, I always stand up for Kylie Minogue, and you never hear me say a bad word about her. I've never been a huge fan of hers, at least I don't own any of her studio albums or anything, but I've always liked a bunch of her songs. And after seeing her live on the Golden Tour, I had such wonderful memories of that show and of her. And let me tell you all, she has the charisma and the presence that just captivates you. She's short, but her charisma is twice as big. And some people might not like her songs or even her voice, but you can't deny that she's evolved from a girl next door to a babe onto a strong woman who's still right at the top of her game after decades. She made a name of herself in a business where most critics had written her off after just a few years. So it's a three-part series, and I'll briefly discuss each episode. So let's go. The first episode begins in the 80s, and it offers a glimpse into her family background. Her sister Dani also appears in the documentary. She also shares her side of the story and has always defended Kylie when it came to how she was treated by the media back then. Kylie's career, of course, really began with her role as an actress on Neighbours, where she played Charlene Mitchell. And there was also a guy on that show who appears in the documentary as well. And his name is Jason Donovan. And he too tells his side of the story. And not only did the two of them star in the same soap opera, but they also had the same songwriting and producing or production team. And it's Stock Aitken Waterman. Stock Aitken Waterman were responsible for some of the catchiest songs in the 80s. I mean, they wrote and produced songs for Rick Astley, Never Gonna Give You Up. Everybody knows that. And Bananarama and Dead or Alive. You spin me around like round. Yeah, everybody knows that, right? Great song, I think. And Say I'm Your Number One by Princess, and Samantha Fox, you know, and also Kylie Minogue and Jason Donovan, and they had huge success with that. And also, Kylie and Chase were a couple for a few years until one day she met Michael Hutchence, the lead singer of the rock band In Excess, and she was totally impressed by him. And that was the end of the story or the end of the story of Kylie and Jason, because, let's face it, rock star, so I guess Kylie Minogue was blown away by him, and subsequently started dating him. The second episode begins in the 90s and marks Kylie Minogue's first reinvention. She began presenting herself in a sexier way, and it's so noticeable when you look back and watch, for instance, the video for Better the Devil You Know. That was the first step into another direction, and then subsequently she followed with Step Back in Time and those kind of songs, and also those kind of videos where she presented herself more in a more mature way. Definitely not the girl next door image anymore. It was more in a sexier way. And that didn't go over well with everyone, because her main audience at that time was kids and teenagers. And she also wanted to make different music. She had recorded 4 albums with Stock Aitken Waterman, but times were changing, and she wanted to be more involved in her music. So she switched teams and signed with Deconstruction Records. And although she was more involved in the creative process, fewer records were sold. The problem is Kylie Minogue was a pop star, and the music she made with Stock Aitken Waterman couldn't have been more pop. Some say it was bubblegum pop. So there's also a risk in changing your image so drastically, because the old audience doesn't really understand the new one, and the indie audience, so to speak, is hard to win over when it comes to accepting a pop star into their world. So There was, however, a moment where she was celebrated by critics, and that was Where the White Roses Grow with Nick Cave. You know? And he also appears in the documentary and basically says that he and Kylie couldn't be more different. I mean, on the one hand, there's Kylie, you know, the lucky, lucky, lucky girl, and on the other, there's this dark-looking dude, you know, singing about death. So, but I think it was a great duet. You know, it was really interesting. You know, those two sides coming together. You know, making a song together. So I really like this song, and also it was a wonderful video. I think, you know, an interesting video. And but overall, the mid to late 90s were a difficult time for Kylie in terms of commercial success, which is why she decided to return to her pop roots. The third episode begins with the Millennium and the album Light Years, as well as the song Spinning Around. And I think we all remember the music video with the gold hot pants, right? That definitely caused attention. And but the song and the album became a huge hit in the UK. And her follow-up album Fever was even a bigger hit, as it included the song Can't Get You Out of My Head. You know? And in my opinion, that song is a perfect example of how sometimes it's harder to write a simple song than a supposedly complicated one. And of course, the La 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 hook is easy, but it's the art of packaging that attractively. Do you know what I mean? So, and with this song, everything fits. You know, the chords, the beats, and the voice. So, and yeah, it became a huge hit all around the world. And the song also gained attention in the US, where she had a few hits, but she was never a major mainstream star there. You know, she has a loyal fan base, but there are far bigger artists out in the US than her. But yeah, but nevertheless, I mean, she played Madison Square Garden a few years ago, or even last year, I don't know. But yeah, but it took her a long time to get there. Then in 2005, Kylie embarked on her Showgirl tour. Originally, tour dates in Europe, Australia, and Asia, as well as a headlining performance at the Glastonbury Festival had been announced. But then in May of that same year, she was diagnosed with breast cancer, which forced her to cancel the rest of her tour. That part of the story is a bit too long for my taste in the documentary, but it really shows the challenges you have to face when you're in the spotlight, you know, and you have to deal with something like that. In any case, she came back stronger than ever after that experience. And in 2019, she finally got to perform at the Glastonbury Festival. However, Kylie revealed that she had experienced a recurrence of breast cancer in 2021. This time, she kept her diagnosis private and was able to beat it shortly. And then in 2023, she also made another comeback with Padam Padam, which not only won a Grammy, but also became a huge hit online, proving that while Kylie and Madonna, for instance, were often written off quickly, but they always managed to bounce back. You know, so and I think it's a nice ending to that story so far. So, in my opinion, it's a well-made documentary. It covers everything you need to know. Maybe Kylie could have shown her emotions a little more. Sometimes, at times, it feels a bit too polished. But overall, it's a nice portrayal of her life. This was my review of Kylie, the Netflix documentary. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, or subscribe to my channel. I would appreciate it. And thanks for watching.